It's out.
It's out. Yeah, it's out.
Oh my god! Time to read!
This was shot in front of a live studio audience at twitch.tv/Sweatcicle.
All right, be right back.
You don't want to read it together? A little family
Who
reading
posted
time,
it?
or-
Where?
We can do
I'll
family
try to
reading.
listen to Sweat read it to us.
This week at Bungo, 8/19/2021. So here's some details. Stasis power weapons are in the power slot, but all other stasis weapons are in the kinetic slot. These are to avoid overcrowding the energy slot. Okay. Stasis weapons don't intrinsically do anything different from weapons of other damage types, but they are the only weapons that can do or that can roll with stasis perks. We generally intended stasis perks with slowing or freezing effects to have a kill trigger, these being easy enough to trigger in PvE and fun to use, but not obnoxious to play against in PvP. I mean, it makes sense, but still, they fixed the quick swap glitch.
This was because of PvP. I want to point it out there because people were doing the quick swap in PvP and people were complaining about it. I don't think this had anything to do with the.
Again, it's never a problem until they address it years later. Like,
this isn't D1.
This game will be based
this happened in D1. Sprint
this has been a
canceling
thing for 7 years.
I know this is really tough to read, but we can't judge it until we play. What I'm worried about here is this comes back to something I do every single season of helping people with raids. Now that, let's just say this is taken out of the game, which is fine because, you know, we can move on from something, but now you got to hold your own.
The other side to this is, if they kept this in the game the whole time, they would have to design bosses and encounters revolving around and knowing that people know how to hot swap Twitch, which would then actually piss more casuals because then the bosses would be hard enough to the point where hot swapping is not overpowered, and then the casuals would just get stomped into the ground, and then they'd be on Twitter again.
All primary ammo weapons now have infinite ammo. So what is the new trials meta going to be? Just fucking bounce hard light infinitely for the whole round, or what? Farming trials weapons is much more efficient in season 15, and we have some cool new perks for players to play with that we wanted to be put on trials weapons. All trials weapons available in season 15 now have 7 perks in each column. Oh, I thought that meant that was going to be like you get a weapon drop and it's got 7 perks in each. I was like, holy shit. When max power levels on weapons launched, we reissued several weapons. We saw how frustrated players were having to regrind their favorite roles. Based on that, our reissue guidelines from season 13 onwards were to replace most of the perks. Turns out that was an overcorrection, and the certain perks on original pools had become the true part of the identity of a weapon. Moving forward, the guidelines for reissues will be to remove the least useful 2 to 3 perks and add 2 to 3 newer perks that give a weapon some new options that may result in entirely new top tier roles without removing the old one. So they're doing the same thing, but hoping that they pick the right perks that they think give the weapon identity is what
Right.
They're gonna kill clip and rangefinder off of Apex Predator. Nice.
Added 1 or 2 of the original perks to each column for the Luna weapons reissued in 3.2.1, i.e. the Lectern weapons only. Added 1 of the original perks to 1 or both columns of the Dreaming City weapons issued in 3.2.1. Tiger Spite, Twilight Oath, Abide the Return.
So does that mean you got to farm Archaeologic for the 3rd time?
Hey, we heard you like these reissued weapons. Let us reissue them again.
I'm impressed with this so far. I'm actually impressed with some of the stuff in here. So let's keep going down to archetypes.
Breach grenade launchers are increasing as a pain point in PvP. Okay, hold on. Before we get too far here, when were they not a pain point? When was the Twab about Mountaintop where they nerfed that? This change aims to reduce the ease of getting big splash damage for priming or cleaning up targets. Note that we're fine with how they perform in PvE.
They're fine with how they perform in PvE.
All right, another season of blinding nades. And minimum blast radius decreased from 3.8 to 3.4. I don't think that's going to make much of a difference.
No, that's not going to make a difference at all.
Reduce splash damage by 20, which reduces the total damage for a direct hit from 220 to 200. That's still going to kill, right? Witherhoard is unaffected. Witherhoard Willie's on top, baby! Single target sustained damage. Increased damage by 20%.
Let's go! Thunderlord's back,
good.
Who's pulling up with an LNG?
It should say usage of the 7 Seraph machine gun is high and no other machine gun.
Scout rifles and hand cannons.
Increased damage versus miners by 15%. That's good. All right, fusion rifles have benefited indirectly from the mid-season 14 shotgun nerf, but fusion rifle subfamilies, the whole family, as different from each other as we wanted, and they weren't all useful in a variety of content. This isn't intended to be a global buff to fusions, but we expected some of these to be better counters to other weapons. Increased PvE damage bonus that All subfamilies have a 15% PvE bonus, so they can separate PvE and PvP. Anyways, high impacts charge slower, and while still strong, require more planning to use effectively. There's so much here to like try and grasp with fusions, it's almost too much.
Like literally such a big wall for fusions, but like
Rapid fires charge faster, allowing them to be used reactively against charging enemies or aggressively when pushing forward. Base charge time decreased from 0.54 to 0.46. Shots per burst increased from 7 to 9. Increase the total damage per burst.
sounds like they don't want us to slide shotguns no more. They want us to crouch around the corner of fusions now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if you have good enough timing, you can fire 2 bursts with the rapid fire before a high impact user finishes charging their burst. No shot. What are they? Are they just trying to slow down PvP? Is that what they're going for here?
I think that's what they're aiming for a little bit, yeah. You gotta understand too that they're doing these changes because of crossplay too. They're merging the platforms, so they're trying to make it enjoyable. I get why they're doing it, but
Change functionality to scale charge time instead of changing on the charge time stat without adjusting the. Dude, this is like, what the fuck am I reading?
I wish they'd put this much time into a sniper.
This is something you're gonna have to feel out too. I don't think this is something you can comprehend through words.
You can't.
Like,
no, you have to use them. You have to use them. What I'm worried about is like, is it gonna make like Telesto broken? Is 1K gonna be broken? Like, is Jotun gonna be broken? So
see, that's what I'm saying, man. I feel like PvP is just gonna feel so passive. Anarchy, the exotic grenade launcher, has been dominant for years now. Being near mandatory for certain raid bosses, we like that it's a great choice for hard solo content and trapping enemy spawn choke points. With this change, we expect it to remain strong without being borderline usable as a primary weapon. Reduce the total reserve magazine ammo from 26 to 16.
Makes
and reduce
sense.
boss damage by 30%. I think this is the best we could have hoped for right there. That's fine.
Yeah, everybody's like freaking out. But it's
Anarchy is still gonna be really good.
You're
You're gonna still have a ton of ammo, dude. With double reserves, you're still gonna have 20 shots. If that's not enough for you, you're using too much. Xenophage was already top notch, so it didn't need the benefit of the global machine gun buff. It does benefit from the damage per bullet buff to machine guns, but now has a slower rate of fire to compensate, resulting in slightly lower damage per second. Reduce the rate of fire from 120 to 90 and receives less the machine gun PvE damage buff.
It does get the buff, it's just less damage over time.
Oh, less damage over time. I think that's fine. I just think that it's gonna just benefit you being on a Titan.
Xeno was barely being able to compete with other stuff though, so I think this you're gonna see a lot less Xeno.
This makes it more viable against killing a champion rather than just spamming the champion 800 times. So.
Yes.
Fighting line has always been fun, but not dominant in PvE, so we weren't worried about the impact infinite ammo would have. However, enabling fast unlimited grenade spamming was too much in PvP. Fighting line reserve ammo increased from a lot to infinite.
You have unlimited fighting line in PvE.
One
Is that
more?
what it says?
I'm definitely trying it now. I'm bringing that into the new season, dude. I'm pulling that from our collection.
I'll try it.
Just reduce the base reload stat to 0. You shouldn't be manually reloading fighting lining anyway. Vex, we were cautious with tuning this one at launch, knowing that shipping a dominant weapon that was incredibly low ownership would break PvP. PvE damage increased by 40%. Range stat increased to be near best in class. Catalyst to grant stability and damage after a kill. No longer loses overcharge stacks on Stow.
Everybody
Where is
with
this
Vex
fucking
now is
Teraba,
actually
bro?
fucking-
Bastion now feels very strong, with shotguns being less dominant.
No.
Reduced damage by 15%. Can now not quite kill a guardian with 1 shot in the 3-burst shot. Thank God. Next season's ritual quest is a rocket launcher with an explosive light perk. Yeah, baby! We're adding these 3 weapons as a post-game rewards for completing Vanguard strikes, Gambit, and Crucible map. Let's go! What? The sidearm, I don't give a f.
No,
We also had
keep
plans to
going, keep going,
freshen
keep
up the
going, keep
loot
going.
in the Prophecy Dungeon. We've seen some feedback to bring and thought that adding these weapons, these weapons to the 9-theme dungeon would be a great fit. These weapons have been upgraded with random rolls, and certain ones will drop from specific encounters in the Prophecy Dungeon. We'll finally have a reason to play Prophecy now. On top of all these weapons, we are also updating the world pool with some fresh drops. Here are some weapons you expect to start seeing in the wild. We just need a few gems out of this whole pool, and next season will be pretty good in terms of farming, as long as they don't drop too easily. We need a big perk pool. It'll take a while to get a god roll. Them adding this amount of weapons next season is good, even if they are reskins or reworks.